Hi there, Agile friends. I'll come in here just with a quick note to let you know that the Agile Online Summit 2022 is coming soon. To know more, check out bit.ly/AOS2022. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/AOS2022. Now, stick around to the end of the episode if you want to know more, but for now, on to the show. Welcome to our Tuesday episode this week with Ricardo Ribeiro. Hey, Ricardo, welcome back.
It's my pleasure again attending this great session.
Absolutely. So, Tuesdays are when we talk about teams and how sometimes they become their own worst enemies. But before we dive into that juicy story, I'm sure you have to tell us, share with us, what was the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master?
Yeah, so there is a particular book I really liked. It's called Fixing Your Scrum by Ryan Ripley and Todd Miller. They also have a YouTube channel called Agile for Humans, right? So both Ryan and Todd, they are professional Scrum trainers from scrum.org. And I like that book because they try to cover situations that we face in a daily basis when we are running a Scrum team, right? It's a kind of situation when you start to read the book, you feel like a deja vu. Say, okay, it looks like the same situation that I have on my team. So they try to explore a kind of anti-patterns, right? And if you have opportunity to read that book, you understand some details that you can apply into your Scrum team. For example, one product and many product backlogs. So we know how difficult it is to manage a product backlog, and you can imagine how harder it is to manage multiple product backlogs.
That's a mess.
Yeah. Another one, we have the product owner and the Scrum Master person, right? So we have one single person perform two different and completely different roles in a Scrum team. There is no way to work this way, right? For example, they cover situations where the team, the Scrum Master, the PO, wants to have a kind of special sprint, a kind of testing sprint, hardening sprint, refining sprint. I had this a lot of times in the past, right? Where by some unexperienced period, we try to have or dedicate a specific sprint to do some specific task. This is not the agile way.
It's like Waterfall with a little bit of Scrum paint on top.
Yeah, it's like putting waterfall phase or waterfall gates within sprints. So the first sprint is to get business requirement. The second one is to break down that requirement. The third one is to coding.
I see where this
number
is
four
going.
is testing, blah, blah, blah.
There's a Gantt chart there somewhere.
Yeah, I want a stats report, and can you provide me a stats report by end of each sprint? I want to see if the project is doing good, budget, resources, and timeline. What's the color of the semaphore? Are we green, yellow, red?
Green, or yellow? Yeah.
Green
on the outside, red on the inside, like watermelons.
Yeah. So at the beginning, everything is green, but at the end, almost everything is near yellow or red, right? And on that book, they try to cover those kinds of anti-pattern, right? So if people read this book before implementing Scrum, I'm pretty sure some nightmares that I have experienced in my life would be avoided, right?
So thank you for the recommendation. Ryan has been a guest on the podcast. I'll put the link on the show notes. Yeah, I'll put the link on the show notes for people to go in and check out Ryan. And of course, they do have the Agile for Humans podcast, as well as Your Daily Scrum YouTube channel. We'll put the link to those on the show notes as well. So, but Ricardo, of course, today's Tuesday, and we talk about teams, and we want to specifically explore a story of a team that kind of started to develop this kind of behavior or pattern that ultimately led to problems. So, tell us a little bit about the context, and then walk us through the story step by step.
Yeah. So, in the past, I had a team where we tried to arrange some waterfall gates within sprints, right?
So, why did that idea of having waterfall gates within the sprints?
Yeah, I think guys from IT normally they have a structured way to think, right? So for most of developers, it's easier to structure their minds in a kind of phase, right? And when we have the Scrum team, we need to give up that kind of way of thinking, right? So we need to think a sprint, for a life cycle of any software development. We need to take in consideration the requirement, the coding, the testings, and so on. But we don't need to assign each of them in a different sprint. So on that particular team, as they used to deliver projects using Waterfall, they felt more comfortable breaking down.
We'll do requirements this sprint, then we'll do design next sprint. And is that how it went?
Yeah.
So what did the product owner say when the team proposed that? Was the product owner also on board with that, or how did it go?
Product owner became from a traditional project manager or product manager position. He had some anti-partners in a Scrum team as well. He was committed to deliver something to the business, but trying to follow a strict timeline, a strict scope. When we are delivering projects in a Scrum team, of course, we need to take in consideration the timeline, the time to market to deliver that project, right? And of course, we need to consider to not waste money. But we need to have a kind of flexible scope. And sometimes at the beginning of any project, even the business don't know what they need, right? And they will understand, or they will have a better understanding over the course of the project, right? So that PO in particular was in a kind of mindset using the waterfall. So you can imagine how difficult it was to me to deliver a project.
As a Scrum Master, that was what I was going to ask next, right? As a Scrum Master, this must have been like a nightmare scenario. Like everybody around me wants Waterfall, and I'm the Scrum Master. What do I do? Ricardo, what do I do?
Yeah, I'm trying to be business oriented, right? I'm trying to be product oriented. At the end, the business just wants a workable product, right? So the business has a need, and they don't care if we are delivering that project using Scrum, Agile, XP, or any other framework. They just want a usable product after some months, for example, right? And we try to accommodate all the work using the phase gates. It was, of course, our anti-partner, but just to don't miss the commitment that we had with the business, right? When we form a new Scrum team, it takes times to the team to get maturity, right? So we took the opportunity in a sprint retrospective to discuss the bad behaviors that we had for that sprint. And we tried to adjust the other sprints, right? Remove those phase gates and bring a more, how can I say, product vision to the sprints, right? So it was a long road that we progress, but at the end, we could take the opportunity of the empiricism that Scrum brings to us to learn and adapt our work and adjust to deliver something valuable to the business at the end.
I think this story illustrates a very important skill for Scrum Masters, which is patience. Right? As you said, you can't change everything in one go. You can't just go and say, hey guys, let's stop the presses. We're not going to do anything until we have a proper backlog and until we can have a proper sprint planning session. But you can start slowly, right? Like you go through one sprint and say, hey, have you noticed that? How did you feel about? Did you collect feedback from stakeholders? And just raise the questions until the team kind of starts to slowly but surely incorporate those things into their sprints. And I don't know if that's what happened in this story, but I can imagine how after a few sprints, the team is already so much into it that starting to do requirements design, development, testing, and deployment inside the same sprint is not a problem anymore.
Yeah. So for any Scrum Master, the first thing to have in mind always is the team effectiveness, right? So if you go to internet and perform some search about different profiles for a Scrum Master, you identify the Scrum Cop, the Scrum Mother, the Scrum everything, right? So I think we as a Scrum Master, we cannot try to be a kind of a Scrum Cop. Of course, we should uphold the Scrum Guide, right? The practice, the framework, the ceremonies, but we need to adapt the team, or we need to extract the best from the team, and we need to take in consideration the maturity of the team, right? So for that reason, I say we should be business and product oriented, and we need to adapt ourselves in order to navigate with the team, achieving the product goal.
Absolutely. A great way to put it. Thank you for sharing that with us, Ricardo.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around to know more about this year's Agile Online Summit. The summit will have 4 keynotes and 4 tracks you will not want to miss. The keynotes will touch on critical topics for us, from delivering on time to helping you to focus on sustainability. The 4 tracks are tools, so we'll focus on tools you need to excel at your job, but also your mission. We'll also have a track on sustainability, which is, of course, about people and their sustainable pace, but it's also about how do we bring sustainability to the products and the planet we inhabit. We'll have a 3rd track about happiness, talking about doing what we love and, most crucially, loving what we do. And finally, the 4th track will be live. It will be mostly hands-on sessions to help you roll up your sleeves together with the presenters. Oh, and we will also have a coaching clinic, as we usually do, organized to help you discuss and get inspired to solve the hardest challenges you face at work. This year, we'll have a special emphasis on interaction with your peers, so get your ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/AOS 2022. As always, we have free tickets for anyone that wants to attend live, and the VIP tickets for those of you who want to keep the videos forever. So check them out at bit.ly/AOS 2022. I'll see you on the conference floor. Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, but tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.